England.
Do you think that they give you money in England?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, but I think they are give me England. They are give me money. You can help me anything. I can need you. Maybe you help me.
So can I ask, why should the people of Great Britain give you a house and money?
Because I don't know.
Because we have a lot of people in Great Britain who need money and need a house.
Yeah.
Why should English people pay for you to have a house?
Maybe they give me house. They give me anything I can need. They give me.
Just give it.
Yeah.
Why?
There is no greater threat to the left-wing narrative, to the mainstream narrative, to the media narrative than the proliferation of the internet, citizen journalists, and social media platforms that unrestricted allow clips like the one that I showed you in the open of this video to go viral, because we are told constantly by the mainstream media, both in this country and in the United Kingdom, and by the way, in Europe as a whole, that immigrants, they contribute to the economy. Immigrants are the future. They are the way of the future. They want to come here. They're going to enrich our great nations. And of course, these are the people that are going to be the future CEOs of all these Fortune 500 companies. And they'll drop numbers telling you that this percentage of Fortune 500 companies are being run by foreign-born individuals. And that's supposed to make you guys out there in the audience not look twice when they're offering generous welfare benefits to migrants from the third world who are definitely 100% for sure going to become CEOs in the future. Now, of course, we talked about on this channel about how the CEOs from foreign-born nations quite literally come from only a couple of nations. They come from India, they come from nations where there happen to be Jewish migrants to the United States of America, and one other ethnic group / nation state basically produces all of the CEOs for all of the Fortune 500 companies that are often cited in the United States of America as proof positive that we need the immigrants to come to the United States of America. These people are essentially carrying the load for all these other groups, and grouping them in allows us to obscure that a lot of the people who come to these countries, especially in Europe, by the way, worse than in the United States of America due to their more generous welfare systems, are coming to mooch off the welfare system. But guess what? We got citizen journalists, we got news outlets that I've never heard of until this viral clip, interviewing the people themselves, and what they are telling you is that they want to be given stuff. Give me house, give me food, give me money, and I think that's absolutely ridiculous and absurd. I mean, anyone who starts off their video-related content by demanding that you give them something is absolutely ridiculous from top to bottom. And with that being said, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
Why?
Because people in England is perfect.
Oh, so you think we're all rich people, so we can give? Okay. Yeah. Can I tell you something?
Okay.
We are not all rich people. If I said to you, look, we don't have enough houses in England, would that stop you coming to England?
Okay. Maybe I come back in my country and I change in another country after.
Yeah, maybe you try another country if you realise that we can't afford England. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now I just want everyone at home to understand that every single person in this room is absolutely desperate to come to Britain. The only reason they are here is to try to come to Britain.
Now, it's interesting to me that this person right here speaks with an accent. Maybe English isn't his first language, although English is a very popular language in many different African nations. But the first words that he seems to be able to say once he arrives in the UK is give me this, give me that. And the reason why he thinks he's entitled to all that different stuff is because British people, English people are good. They're perfect. Therefore, they should give their excess to this individual because his his life is not very good. And now, of course, this doesn't factor in the fact that the British economy has been struggling for quite some time. It doesn't factor into the fact that those people who are good in the nation of the United Kingdom, just like in the United States of America, just like in the rest of Europe, are people who earned it through work, through effort. These are highly educated populations that work in specialized careers in nations that were built over time by these people and their ancestors to the great status that they actually have. But for whatever reason, not only do the migrants come to these nations seeking welfare, but they're entitled to said welfare. They demand that welfare. They say, gimme, gimme, gimme. And this is why a lot of people on the internet.com actually call these people gimmigrants rather than immigrants, because they expect to be given a bunch of different things. And if you want to know why in the Western world immigration policy is so toxic for all these different various political parties, it is that idea right there. It is these people coming to this country, not even liking the people that they're mooching off of, and demanding more and more because you're so rich and they are entitled to your money. And again, we have all these different education programs that go around the nations in Africa and indoctrinate them in this Marxist theology that basically tells them that the global north is wealthy not because they have functioning capitalist economies, not because they built good institutions in order to create wealth, but because they're exploiting the poor Africans, the innocent Baba Angel Aladdins in the global south. Therefore, they are entitled to now come to these Western countries and take back what they definitely built. Again, it's ridiculous. It's absurd. We hear all the time about how Africans built the United States of America. They built all of Europe. They built parts of Asia. The only place that Africans have never seemed to be able to build up is nations in Africa. So maybe they should go back and take all that ingenuity and bring it to their home nations so that they can build up those places. And by the way, it's not just African migrants. It's not just African so-called refugees. It's also Middle Eastern migrants. They have the same kind of philosophy that they're entitled to mooch off the taxpayer, and they refuse to assimilate while they're doing it. They want to have Africa plus wealth rather than actually becoming members of the United Kingdom, citizens of the United States, not just on paper, but in actions and cultural attitudes. And people are just sick of it. They're done with it. And by the way, there's all this propaganda about how immigrants, again, contribute so much to the economy. We've already gone over the Fortune 500 CEO propaganda that comes into the United States of America, but let's actually look at the data out of the United Kingdom, because what you'll ultimately discover is, guess what? They are not doing well in the United Kingdom. They are not contributing, and due in large part to the fact that they have these generous welfare programs, which, by the way, is the reason why these people are coming to the UK. They're actually a drain on the system. So this is an article from Euronews that says migration to the UK has failed to boost economic growth, warns report. High levels of immigration have failed to enhance the economy and have worsened the housing crisis in the UK, according to a new report from the Century Policy Studies. The study of the center-right think tank, co-authored by former Immigration Minister Robert Jenrick, argues that about 89% of the 1.34 million rise in England's housing deficit over the last decade has been due to net migration. Additionally, 67% of private rented households in London are headed by individuals born overseas, as were 33% of new social housing placements in London in the borough of Brent in 2022-2023. Quote, large-scale migration has not delivered the economic benefits its defenders argue it should, with the era of mass migration coinciding with a significant slowdown in GDP per capita growth, former Conservative minister and co-author of the report, MP Neil O'Brien said. Now, this should be surprising to no one, but obviously you have a lot of people in the mainstream media, you have a lot of people in the left wing, and by the way, in the Conservative Party in the United Kingdom as well, that are disappointed by these outcomes because there's this belief that immigrants into your country automatically is going to raise the standard of living in your country because it is going to probably boost GDP. But the fact is, in reality, having a more strict immigration immigration system that allows people who are ambitious to come through the process and become successful is going to produce infinitely better results than just importing the third world and expecting them to act like regular ordinary British citizens. In reality, the reason why the UK is successful, the reason why Germany is successful, the reason why France is successful has to do with the multitude of geographic reasons for sure, but the people have something to do with it. The cultures that Europe has produced, the capitalist culture, the Protestant work ethic, all these different various things that allowed these very same people to go to the United States and have even greater success without the restrictions of Europe are the reason why these people are successful. But if you import people who don't embrace that culture, who come in for the welfare benefits, who feel that they're entitled to what they see as the excesses of your society, you can't be surprised that they're not actually contributing to your society when they get there. Again, you can't be surprised that these people are going around talking about how you have to give them this or give them that. In fact, I actually found a representative for the immigrants to the United Kingdom, for people from third world countries just like this African that we saw in the open, and this representative made their stance on immigration quite clear, and I'm going to play that interview for you, which is an exclusive of this channel, so you could see it for yourself.
Why should English people pay for you to have a house?
Maybe they give me house, they give me anything I can need, they give me.
Just give it.
Yeah.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
Now look, obviously I was joking right there. I'm just having a little bit of fun with you guys out there in the audience. But if you think about it, it's actually not far off from the point that I'm trying to make for you guys out there in the audience. Because Anna is of Armenian descent. I believe her parents are immigrants to the United States of America. And they have that hard-working ethic that is quite prevalent in Armenian culture. There's a reason why Armenians are successful in multiple different places around the world that they go to. And that's because they have that work ethic instilled into them in a cultural level, and that is seen throughout anywhere in the world that they go. They don't go to just mooch off the system. Now, of course, Armenians have also been convicted of Medicare fraud time and time again, so I'm not saying that there aren't scammers among them, but they don't have a culture that just says you want a subsistence living off of the excess of the taxpayers, and you're willing to go to countries based on welfare benefits. In reality, they go to countries based on their prospect for success. And the same is true with the multitude of other immigrant groups. And by the way, speaking of Anna Kasparian and her parents, I just want to remind you guys that currently Anna's mom is in the hospital with cancer. She had a bone marrow transplant. We're going to wish her a speedy recovery. And if you want to do so, I actually think it would be nice to go tweet Anna Kasparian that you're supportive of her mother, because we here on the AJW channel, we love parents, we love mothers, and that includes my literal best friend Anna's mother. So the same is true with Nigerians to the United States of America. A lot of them come highly educated, highly motivated, trying to be successful in this nation. They start businesses. They actually end up going into nursing, the females, and become successful because, again, that culture, when it's translated into the United States of America, takes the best aspects of it and brings it over here. The same is not true for the people that are going to the United Kingdom. And again, it's not really down to race, because I wouldn't say that these people are less African than Nigerians or more African than Nigerians. In reality, they just don't have the same level of person that is coming into their nation, because the UK's welfare system is attracting people who are seeking welfare benefits rather than opportunity. And by the way, this is not just contained to the United Kingdom. We also see this in a bunch of different countries, including nations like Germany. So I want to give you the breakdown of some of those numbers so you can understand how bad it actually is in terms of the welfare mooching by these migrants. As reported in Euronews last week, among those who arrived in 2015, 64% were employed in 2022 compared to 77% of the broader German population. IB reported that 90% of workers in this group paid social security contributions, and the median gross hourly wage for arrivals in 2015 was 13.7 euros, despite any difficulties that might arise at the beginning. Quote, due to institutional and individual hurdles, particularly at the beginning of the refugee stay, employment rates are still low, less than 10% in the first year of arrival, noted IAB, referring to the refugee population as a whole. Quote, however, rates rise significantly as the lengthy stay increases. On average, they reach 57% 6 years after immigration, 63% 7 years after immigration, and 68% for stays of 8 years or more. So they say those numbers like they're actually supposed to be a good thing, even though obviously the employment rates are significantly lower than the native-born German population. They're not making all that much money, so they're not contributing to the system. So obviously you're going to have a net drain on the resources for these European nations. And again, this is a consequence of bad policy that has been repeated time and time again across Europe. And by the way, it is the liberals in the United Kingdom, not the conservatives, that appear to be catching on to the fact that this is a winning issue, because you had Keir Starmer, of all people, two-tier Keir as he's called over there, talking about how we need to send people back to their home countries, we need to stop importing the third world, and describing Britain in some way as an isle of strangers based on the mass migration to this nation. And if you're thinking that this is something that is unheard of from the left-wing parties, I should point you guys to the nation of Denmark, because their left-wing party over there is very restrictionist against immigration, including refugees. And this is one of the reasons why, while we're seeing the rise of the right in all these different European nations, Denmark has been completely excluded from that, because the number one issue that animates the right in Europe, and by the way, animates huge portions of the right in the United States of America, is off the table for both parties, and people are much happier for it. They understand in Denmark, Bernie Sanders' favoriteest of favorite countries, that you can't have all these generous social welfare programs and invite in the third world and expect to maintain your culture as a nation. So yeah, this is actually not that unheard of. If Keir Starmer goes in this direction, I will praise him to the extent that he's going in this direction in terms of policy. And if he's successful in that, he will put the right wing to bed in the United Kingdom. And honestly, I would still be grateful for it if I were a resident of that nation. But of course, I want to know what you guys think about all of this down in the comments below. What do you think about the interview that was conducted that I showed you at the beginning of this? What do you think about the data surrounding the employment and contributions of these migrants to this nation? All your thoughts down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social media, support me via support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the immigrants going full gimmigrant. Till next time.